Hello everyone, this is Crota coming at you, giving you a replay between Slivko and BratOk here on Cloud Kingdom, Game 1 in a series, Zerg versus Terran, and already the game has started, so let's get this game started. We have Slivko spawning as the light blue Zerg over here on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, on the bottom left hand side of the map, we do have a BratOk or BratOk. No matter how you say his name, he is going to be the red Terran player on the bottom left hand side of the map at about the 7 o'clock position. Now in this Terran versus Zerg matchup, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Zerg. Zerg players normally don't like this map because of the third base options. Both players or both teams can easily establish up a second base, but their third base leaves them very, very vulnerable. I know a lot of Zerg players in the current metagame expand sometime in between 25 to 32 food, so that's anywhere from the 4.5 minute to the 6 minute, 7 minute mark, and Zerg really gets comfortable then. Because of the way the maps are, or the bases are located, this expansion location here and this expansion location here, both of them are very much exposed and they're a little bit difficult in order to take and defend easily. Most Zerg players do try to take this expansion here. They're able to lay down creep tumors and then connect the creep from the main base over here to the natural side, and with that hope to be able to defend against any early Hellion pressure. You can take a look. Hellions cannot drive behind the mineral line here, which is a very important thing to note. Since the Hellions can't drive behind there, they don't have as much room to maneuver, and that's why Zerg does like this expansion location a little bit more. We can see that a drone is going to be coming in from Slivko, and Slivko is going to take a look around and try to figure out what exactly BratOk's doing. We can see that a refinery is down, and with that refinery, we know that we will most likely have reactor Hellions as the opening. Meanwhile, a hatchery already down or now being constructed by Slivko at the natural expansion, about 40% completed. So in about another minute or so, that will be up and running as a drone realizes it can't get back inside and now tries to wander away. One thing to note, Slivko is coming across the map with this Overlord. This is prior to the latest patch notes that were released. The Overlord movement speed 0.47 instead of 0.56. The new Overlords will be moving about 20% faster during the early portion of the game, meaning that they are going to be able to get into a safe position much more easily. We may see a change in how maps are designed, as Overlords are going to be able to park themselves in very nice locations and not really have to worry about getting shot down. Taking a look at what Brat's doing, we can see that a reactor is already placed down. We can see that we are going into that factory. Meanwhile, a queen now being trained over here at the natural expansion. SCV now taking a look around, making sure that there is no any more expansions going on inside this base. Slivko, or on this side of the map, Slivko hasn't shown any tech yet. So what BratOk's really looking for is he's trying to see if there's any additional hatcheries. He's going to check this location here, realize that there is not, as now the SCV tries to run away from those Zerglings. The Zerglings should be able to finish it off though, unless the SCV now heads straight home. One Marine now down on the ramp, command center being established by BratOk, and we'll see if he tries to go for a hidden command center inside his own base as well to call in additional mules and train up more SCVs. You can see that Slivko has a slight economic advantage, 25 drones versus 20 SCVs, and now with more and more queens, he should be able to hit those injects and then have his economy just absolutely explode. It looks as though the Zerglings, yes, did get the kill on that SCV. It looks like it happened somewhere around here. The SCV unable to get back at all. Right now, we also see Slivko coming in with this Overlord, and this Overlord is going to be able to spot the command center being built at the natural expansion. It will pull away in time, and that's all the information Slivko really needs. He needs to know if it's some one base all in play. He knows that that is not the case, but he doesn't know about this extra expansion that BratOk has already placed down. Taking a look inside the bases, we do have one spine crawler at the front door. Hellions having a difficult time trying to run by. We are switching back into Marines now, and we are going into siege tanks with siege tech. SCV is going to be transferred over here to the natural expansion to make sure there are less diminishing returns, as we also see a macro hatch coming in from Slivko. So Slivko may be doing a little bit of a 2-base timing as well, as he wants to make sure that he has plenty of larva. Spinecrawler does get off one hit on one of those Hellions. The Hellions now backing away, driving back home, and we'll see where they're going to be going in just a moment. Command center about 75-80% done now, and so far not much action going on. We do have a Roach Warren now being placed down, but we are not yet at tier 2, so we will not have movement speed anytime soon. We also saw that there was one creep tumor that was denied from the Hellion, so the Hellion's able to clean that up and make sure to stop the creep spread. But the Queen, and now off here as well, could start this creep spread toward the 3rd base, and with Zergling movement speed, be able to get a good surround on those Hellions rather quickly. Baneling's Nest tech to tier 2, Roaches all being trained up. Meanwhile, Orbital Command now being upgraded by BratOk. There is one siege tank up on the high ground. It covers the entire choke point here, but the problem is that Roaches will be able to come in and start shooting at those siege tanks if they decide to. Hellions are back here. Roaches are going to try to engage. The Hellions do back away just in time, as the Roaches are not going to be able to do very much of anything when trying to chase down those Hellions. 2 siege tanks in position, ready to just blast away at what would be a couple of Roaches. We already see more Zerglings being added, and we may be going into Banelings as a 3rd base now also being placed down. No movement speed on those Banelings though, and it's really going to come down to the siege tank numbers. We are going into the tech lab. Perhaps combat shield and stim will be utilized here in just a moment. Double refineries also being placed down at the natural expansion, so very, very heavy gas play coming in from BratOk. We'll see when he does establish up that starport and try to get a medevacs out of a reactor starport in order to accompany these Marines. Siege tanks are still pushing out here. We are at 73 compared to 94 supply, and now this is where Zerg gets dangerous. Once they have that infestation pit, Zerg is able to train up those units that are expensive units, very effective units that cost relatively low supply. Zerglings and Roaches both are units that cost a high supply for their overall cost, so that is something that you do have to be wary about. The Hellions still looking to perhaps get off some damage onto some drones, but simply gonna lie in wait, ready for a good time strike. Doesn't want to tip his hand at all, as drones are now making their way over, and Zerglings now gonna make their way over. So the Hellion's gonna back her over, and here we go. A couple of drones gonna get torched down. There we go, and now Zerglings trying to get a threat of those Hellions. The Hellion's taking a lot of damage. Banelings also crashing into there as well. And taking a lot of damage was BratOk, but I think Slivko also didn't trade that efficiently either. So we are going to have some supply depots here. One siege tank on the low ground. Orbital Command from BratOk already establishing his 3rd. You can see 3 mules in play, 61 harvesters compared to 78. Majority of both of these armies are based on their workers right now. Slivko attempting to set up a hatchery over here at the center portion of the map, a rather dangerous location. We'll see if it's going to be successful, and what he will need to do in order to fend off the attack. Spine crawlers may be necessary in order to just slow down the Marines and slow down that siege tank push. We are going into level 1 weapons upgrade on the Terran siege tanks, so they will be able to one-shot Zerglings and Banelings. Alright, here we go. Supply depots now being built over here at the top of the ramp. That should prevent a lot of the units from being able to run in. No Zergling run-bys. Even off over here, no Zergling run-bys. So really the 3rd base is the only base that is exposed. And surprisingly enough, there is no planetary fortress, even though this is a rather well-exposed base. Harvester count is 76 to 74. This is feels like a lot of SCVs. Yeah, a fair amount of SCVs off over here. Full saturation, as we are now going to see units try to crash in on the front door here by these destructible rocks. There are some siege tanks, but they are not in siege mode yet, and we'll see what this medevac drop is able to do. A 5th base now being established by Slivko, and Slivko with this 5th base should just be able to harvest gas from it and get a very large army of broodlords or ultralists. we can see that this extractor off over here currently has no drones on gas. The main base and also the natural expansion starting to get low in numbers, 15, 17. So it's more than or almost halfway done in terms of harvesting all of that gas. And now infestors, zerglings, and banelings will be getting ready here. Siege tanks need to get in position. One roach is going to get quickly taken down. Here comes the siege tanks. The siege tanks, very, very nice spread on them, making sure that they don't all go after the same target. And what is happening here? Zerglings and roaches just trying to wander around in the backfield. We may get a new siege tank as they slowly push up the ramps. 3 more siege tanks most likely will unsiege, move forward, and then try to destroy all of these zerglings before they really get into position. Meanwhile, a drop happening over here. Banelings are going to find their target, and now we may have a drop over here in the main base instead. No, that's not going to be the case. Over here, a wall of supply depots from BratOk, making it very difficult for these zerglings to really deal any damage whatsoever. All right, siege tanks are going to be up on the high ground. They're going to siege here in just a moment. And with this, BratOk is in a very, very dangerous location. He's going to be able to shell apart this one hatchery in just a matter of seconds, utilizing that 13 range. Infestors and roaches don't even want to try to get close at this point, since the siege tanks are upgraded 1-0 and will be able to 3-shot even the roaches, the only other high hit point unit in this army. New command center now being built, both sides sitting at near maximum supply. Siege tanks now backing off. Where are they going to retreat to is the question. Marines and siege tanks now once again rolling out. There are zerglings and banelings lying in wait. And here we go. Siege tanks going to start to demolish all of these spine crawlers here. And Slivko, losing his hatchery that he was trying to perhaps rebuild. There are broodlords, and the scan, absolutely perfect, catches all of those broodlords as they are being just transferred across. And now you see double starport as a reaction. We may get some reactors, and now also going into double orbital or double command centers inside his own base. The Marines are upgraded 2-2, soon to be 3-3. Crackling upgrades now coming in as well, as we are now trying to reestablish this hatchery here for Slivko. Zerglings still doing a very, very impressive dance. The Marines battling up against Zerglings. The Zerglings are also upgraded 2-2 as well. So that just means that the damage is fairly even. Only what will happen is that buildings will get destroyed faster, as the siege tanks are going to siege, and all of them are sieged in time to push away all these units. They do not want to engage. The Marines trying to take down broodlords. It looks like some of them will get down, but a lot of friendly fire taking down the units as well. And BratOk now, once again, sitting on maximum supply, has to be very, very careful. Now down to 197. He needs to train up more and more siege tanks to really deal with the ground army. Marines now trying to make their way in. Broodlings just dropping from the sky, causing problems. As now, here we go. An engagement. Banelings now trying to come in. Infestors may be able to get off of fungal growth. No, that is not the case. The siege tanks are just creating the perfect meat grinder for all of these zerglings, banelings, and infestors. All right, here we go. Hatchery has been completed in the center portion of the map. This expansion down over here at the 3 o'clock expansion location is up and running. You can see a good amount of gas has been harvested, about 300. That would normally mean that this expansion has been up for at least 3 minutes. And we're going to be going into the broodlords now once more. We are going into level 1 weapons upgrade and pneumatized carapace, but I do not believe we have ventral sacs as of yet. Roaches now trying to push their way in. They get shelled out and destroyed in a matter of seconds once more, as we now see an expansion into multiple locations at once. BratOk looking to expand here at the 9, here in the center 6, and also in the bottom right hand 3 or 4. So that is going to be huge, as the broodlings are going to try to engage. We can see that there is 1 or 2 Vikings trying to escort this, but with the sheer number of corruptors and also those queens, I don't believe any units will get taken down all too easily. So Zerg sitting on the larger mineral bank, meanwhile Terran sitting on the larger gas bank. Who has a true advantage? I don't know at this point, since it is so even. as we are now going into 3 more Broodlords and 7 more Corruptors. Zerglings now trying to swarm in over here. It looks like they're going to be able to attack and take down this planetary fortress. SCVs are trying to repair. Command center does need about another 5 seconds to go. Oh, the Baneling's now trying to crash in, and this timing is going to be absolutely perfect. Planetary fortress getting some kills, but the Zergling's able to finish it off before the planetary fortress gets in too much damage. Meanwhile, you see a planetary fortress and a planetary fortress off here, a triple expand resulting in double expansions, and that's what exactly BratOk wanted to do. Slivko perhaps thinks that he has the advantage lead, when if you take a look at the bases now, it is just dead even, which is normally in favor of Terran right now. Broodlords looking to come in. A lot of Broodlords, even coupled with even more Corruptors and some Infestors now joining in. Fungal growth would be huge, as a medevac now looking to perhaps execute a drop. Where can these units go is the question, and how much damage can they do? Marines getting just destroyed by Broodlings and those Broodlords, and this is going to be a slow push out of the base. You can see the siege tanks just destroying each other, and now in comes the Vikings. The Vikings trying to finish off the Broodlords. Corruptors now making their way in as well. One Viking goes down. I don't believe any Broodlords have gone down. There's a fungal growth, as Slivko taking a very nice position here. Is it going to be enough? Marines now reinforcing. The Corruptors going after the Vikings going after the Corruptors, allowing free reign from these Broodlords, and these infested Terrans do deal so much damage, absolutely destroying all of the units here. Down it goes. There goes Brat's last siege tank in the center of the field, and now perhaps going to try to regroup themselves over here at a planetary fortress. I don't imagine that will really work, as the Zerg army is simply just too strong right now. Also, with those Broodlings able to just destroy this planetary fortress in a matter of seconds. There you go. SCV no longer repairing. The planetary fortress is doing a great job killing all of these units, but is it going to really be able to do so? Nope, unable to do so. Broodlings are free, as the Broodlords are still making another move across the field and look to prepare to knock on the real third base. Vikings now trying to engage. There are a lot of Vikings here. Corruptors going up against it as well. More Corruptors still going up against, as the Broodlords now dropping Broodlings straight inside the base. And this third base, if it falls, BratOk will be in a world of hurt. Marines now need to make their way back over. Vikings now need to make their way back over. A 60 supply advantage for Zerg, as the Corruptors are now looking to take down the orbital command. Corruptors doing a great job, down to 600 some odd hit points. It looks like it will start to catch on fire. Siege tanks and Broodlings just still destroying this, and it looks like the orbital command down to 200 hit points. Vikings now coming in. The Thor focusing down on some Zerglings, not the perfect unit to focus down on, as we're going to see those Broodlords just try to fight and turn away all of those Marines. The sheer number may be enough. Siege tanks are not in siege mode, so no friendly splash damage, as the Broodlords all get cleaned up by a flock of Marines. All right, here we go. The Corruptors are backing off. We are now at, once again, a 50 supply advantage between these two players. Slivko slightly ahead right now, about 50% ahead in terms of overall food supply, and we'll see if this continues to grow or not. Now, also another thing to note, will BratOk be able to just call in mules constantly and mine out this location? Marines now once again trying to push in. 98 over 181. Marines going to finish off one spine crawler very easily. No, now not going to be able to finish it off. There goes, finally goes down, as the Marines once again get fungal growth, and now even more units show up to the field to clean up the rest of the Marines there. 175 versus 76. I don't see how Slivko can possibly lose this game other than him doing a premature GG. Siege tanks, Thors, Marines are on the move once more, but this Infestor Broodlord combination with Corruptors looks so painfully strong that I can't imagine what's going to be happening here. You can already see the orbital command taking a lot of damage, down to 703, 643 hit points. Get in a little bit more damage to perhaps catch it on fire, and then not have to deal with this expansion here. So yes, the Corruptor is going to be going after that. You can see a Marine is down over here. Is the Corruptor going to finish off and at least get that orbital command, as we now see our next engagement here? This hatchery was taken down by BratOk, but how much damage is he going to absorb for trying to take that down? All those Marines now down to 35 supply, as the Broodlords enter in on the front door, and are just poking their way through. So much damage being dealt. And I believe that will be the GG. 28 supply versus 192 Slivko. More than, what, 8 times his opponent in total food. Now going into, yeah, no, actually no, 5 times his, no, actually right now 7 times his total opponent's supply, and that number is just getting higher and higher. I believe BratOk will be giving the GG and the white flag in just a second. I can't imagine Slivko being able to mess this up at this point. He has such great control and pretty much knew what exactly the Terran player was going to try to do every step of the way. BratOk now down to 15-14 supply. And there is the GG. Well played. So BratOk losing game 1 in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.